I just wanted to let Doug just share a little bit. Doug's a busy guy. He's got 2 beautiful daughters, great wife, busy, a lot of things going on, but he's always made time for this. No matter where he's been, whatever job he's had, he's always made time for this because he's seen the significance of it. So before I get into really intentional with some questions, all that, Doug, but just overall, share kind of what your thoughts are in your own life, the value. And Doug's got a podcast episode too, that if you want to go back and listen to it, we talk a little bit about that in the podcast too.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
we did.
So
I won't spoil it for him tonight, but
Right,
I'll give him the
right.
Cliff Notes version.
just tease him a little. Give him
Yeah.
the teaser, trailer.
Teaser.
Yeah.
So no, you mentioned that I was already doing it. So my wife and I moved back to Murray in 2004, and jumped right back into church there, and had an opportunity to start meeting with some folks that actually were college friends in that area that were doing it, and they invited me in, and I was like, okay. But I found out that the network building and just the knowing that you're not the only one going through things was a good thing to learn that, you're not alone. A lot of times as a man, we isolate ourselves when things aren't going the way we want them to, and we look inside of ourselves instead of looking to God or to other people who've already maybe been there and done that. And I think that's the value of a small group, is to surround yourself with people that you share a common purpose in the Lord, and allow that to work through you and help answer some of the hard questions of life. And so, don't give me any credit. It's all credit to God. But Steve Prome's in my life every day. You're in it. Others are in it. Perkins.
Yeah.
We don't see each other very much, but when we do, it's like right back there to ground zero. So,
Yeah.
But it's because we invested in each other's time. We were intentional, paid attention to each other, and listened to, we celebrated together, we cried together, but we were just men, and we just held each other up. So, yeah, the small group is a wonderful place to find yourself and to find how you can influence others. And so you mentioned that I went to Henderson. So Jeff was at the bank. When did you start there? July, before I got there in October? So we're pretty much on the same trajectory. Didn't know each other from Adam before. I moved to Henderson. I'd been in Murray for most of my children's growing up life, so 25 plus years. Moved to Henderson, totally unknown to me, not home to my wife or I. And I was actually living there for the first year without my family. So my youngest daughter was a senior at Murray High, and we were not moving her just so I could go take this dream job in Henderson. So my wife and I was like, I would drive home, I'd leave on Monday, drive home Wednesday night, spend the night in my own bed, and I would actually teach a class at Murray State, see my kids for a few hours, and I'd drive back, and I did that then back for the weekend. So for a year I did this. When you're a man and you're away from everything you know, no men's group, no wife, no kids, new place, Satan will allow himself to show up every day on your doorstep. And I told her when I took the gig, I was like, you can't go for a year. We got to get Hannah graduated. I'm going to Henderson. I am going to work like an absolute dog, and I'm going to make sure that this is the right place to move you at some point in time. But not until we're sure. But I said, I'm going to find a men's group. She's like, what do you mean? So I was like, well, you told me in 2004 I couldn't get enough Jesus. I needed a men's group. You told me I won't need any more there. So as soon as I rolled into town, God laid a few guys in my heart, and they found out I was looking. And so I've been a part of a Friday morning's men group since I got there. But talk about building a network and finding people that didn't know me, that allowed to invest in me, huge. I just didn't have to worry about those things that most people in that situation might find themselves faced with. Temptations weren't there. I wasn't finding myself at the bar every night trying to find a way to have a nightcap to go to bed.
Kill your time.
None of those things were a problem.
Well, Satan,
but it was a men's group.
idle men and idle mind, idle hands,
Oh, yeah.
Satan can use in a big way. So,
That's right.
That's right. One of the things that I remember Tim specifically talking about when he was able to step into that setting with you guys, he was a young, obviously younger than you guys, and he talked about how you guys just really embraced him, treated him at the same level, even though y'all were a little older than him, a little more advanced in business and so forth. And he just talked about the significance of that, but also the fact that you were you guys had already put your feet in some of the footprints that he was trying to walk. You guys already, and you just talked about the value of having this context where he could share things and you guys give him feedback. And I kind of call it, he wanted to know what you guys thought about what he was thinking. And he talked about the value of that. But I also got to believe that in 2004, you were how old?
35.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kids were how old?
Babies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did that do for you in that setting as a father and husband, young husband and father?
Oh, to have other folks around me?
Yeah,
Oh.
in that deal.
Yeah, because, you know, Steve was talking about his kids. I'm not going to steal your thunder there, Coach, but you got a whole gaggle of children at your house. I quit it too. But God had a sense of humor. I had 2 girls. I was done. I didn't want to keep going back. I wasn't.
Because you might have 3 girls.
I was afraid of having 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, when your family is young and there are diapers going everywhere or a kid's got to be hauled somewhere, and I told my wife, it's like, how are our girls a month from now will be 23 and 21, and I don't know how they got there. Because there's so much activity from the time they come out of the womb to the time they are graduated and gone. It's like a flash of time, but it is the busiest flash of time you'll ever have. And if you don't have God through that, you can get lost in the minutia because there are so many things going on. And my wife's a teacher by trade and raising 2 kids. In 2017, she started having health issues, and it was fatigue and thyroid. And we relied on God to guide us through that. And she's done really well. But man, when you've got so much going on, you just got to sometimes call a timeout. And that's what church and a men's group can do for you. Yeah. It'll give you a moment to reflect. And
Now, was that group originally, was that the one that Coach Kennedy was in initially?
yeah, so I was with Coach Kennedy and Perk and Randy Taylor and Imes, and then Latimer picked up with us after Coach went to Tech, and you were in there. So I mean, we kind of transitioned. There was about 10 years there, I guess.
Because Coach would have been the oldest one in the group, right?
Yeah, he and Randy are older than I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, Coach and I are the same age.
Yeah.
So the guy that, we're talking, Coach preceded Steve, I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute with Steve, but, so he was as busy, one of the busiest guys in the group, being a head college basketball coach, everything he had going on. But again, he was there. He'd walked through life a few seasons ahead of you guys. Plus, he was a guy that was in the public eye in that community all the time. Steve knows what that's like. But yet, he made time. So my point is, he's a guy that didn't have to make time for that, right?
No.
And you too, Steve. We'll talk about that later when you and I get up here. But
Well, Billy was intentional. And I'll tell you, when I went to Henderson, it was Billy's words that said, I need men around me so that I don't make mistakes. And I thought the same thing. So if you want to talk about an influence, that was 2004, 5, 6 when we started that group. And then I take this job in 2018. But I remembered what he said.
Yeah.
You got to have men around you that you can rely on. Yeah. And so I credit him with that.
and the point I'm trying to bring out, and you're busy, is it doesn't matter how busy you are.
You got to make time.
It's just that important.
Yeah, our CEO talks about you got to stop and sharpen your saw sometimes. Chopping wood all day long, and you're chopping wood, and you say, but you realize you're not chopping down as many trees because your axe is dull, right? Sometimes you got to stop and sharpen your axe. And you're like, well, I can't stop because if I stop, then, I won't be working. But if you don't sharpen your axe, you'll never be really good at what you do. And sharpening your saw is kind of along the same lines. Calling a timeout and going to church on Sunday or a Thursday night men's group at 9 o'clock. I remember the first time I got asked to go to men's group, and they were going to do it Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. I was like, okay, it's like kind of late for me. I'm already kind of chilling out about 9 o'clock. But
y'all were so busy, that's the only time.
There's one time you do it.
Yeah.
And I told my wife, and I was like, she's not going to make me go.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's like, 9 o'clock, that's about right. She goes, you need all the Jesus you can get. Go. Get out of here. So, yeah.
Well,
Just big time.
I've heard it said that Satan, the enemy, majors, like we major at college, majors in muchness, busyness, and noise. And So no matter how busy we think we are, and all the noise going on, and all that, that's what he wants. That's how he keeps us most distracted, is with that. And, you know, the number of men and all the years I've invested in men, and I hear just, you know, Tim, yeah, I know that's important. I'll get to it. I'm just too busy right now. And I'm at a phase in my career where I'm just too busy. Well, the enemy, the enemy's going to keep you thinking that way all the way through, and you just got to be intentional, even if it's at 9 o'clock at night.
That's right. Yeah. Busy is an acronym, and I heard in Sunday school. Here we go. Being under Satan's yoke. And when you think about it that way, that Satan wants you busy so that he has control of your life. And so no matter how busy you are, God will find a way to slow you down and let you know that he's in charge of this game. And so I can tell you there are some very defined events in my life, which we don't have enough film on the camera to talk about. But I got busy, and I didn't pay attention to things that mattered. And he said, hang on, let me show you how this game's played. Quickest story, in 2005, not long after I got to Murray, I got a staph infection in my left leg and about lost my leg and spent 6 surgeries, 9 days in Vanderbilt Hospital. I was afraid of dying and losing the ability to raise my daughters. I thought I had to be at the bank. Killing it, Jeff, killing it. I was gone for 3 months. That baby ran every day like a champ. My chair was there when I went back.
How about that?
You know, I was like,
You're not all you thought you were. Hey,
I thought they'd have to shut the place down.
Yeah.
No, they didn't. God said, hang on, let me show you something.
Yeah.
Hold my beer.
Bob used to always say, you know, I'd crash and burn enough, eventually he'd get me flat on my back.
Yeah, you kinda
He'd get me
straighten out.
still and go, okay, big boy, now let's see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think some of us can relate to that. So
It's all good.
before I let Doug step down, anybody got questions for a guy like Doug or just anything in general? Maybe he'll loan you some money. I don't know. You could ask him, but anything anybody
know
like
some
to
people.
ask or comments or anything?
Is everybody in here in a group? Oh, don't be afraid. Okay.
Yeah,
I
some of the
encourage
guys
you to
are-
find a group.
It sounds like Proverbs 27. Iron
Sharp as
How about
iron.
that? Yeah, there you go.
Amen.
That
No
you-
doubt.
You just explained it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Well-
valuable.
Thank
Yeah, and the intentionality of, the value of the intentionality and having that accountability, why do most men have moral failures in their lives? They'll tell you they didn't have any accountability. The only accountability they had was the mirror. Instead of a guy like that guy right there who was in my first fire team, and the number of times I wanted to come across the table and rip his head off, but he was willing to risk our relationship to tell me what I needed to hear. And heck, he'd take a bullet for me, I'd take a bullet for him, but man, I just don't know where I'd be without him. And a lot of other guys in this room too, but I think Doug would say that. And again,
Absolutely.
you mentioned Coach Kennedy. Steve will probably reference him. Tim, that was here last time, referenced him. He talks about him in the podcast. And actually, the next podcast we're releasing next week is Coach Kennedy, the God and Man podcast. I'd recommend that highly. Listen to it. But there was a guy that you guys think you're busy. Satan makes us think we're important. We got all this going on. But he knew the value of it. He could have very easily, in Murray, Kentucky, when you're the basketball coach in Murray, Kentucky, Steve, you're a big deal, aren't you? It is. That's just what it is. But he was there 9 o'clock on Tuesday nights,
Place to be.
and that was it. So don't ever think you're past that point in your life, and that you don't need something like that. You're gonna need it till the Lord calls you home. So, and if you don't have it, you need to find it.